Hey, welcome in. I'm Lance Slaughter, your host today, and obviously I'm sitting here with Alex Fairley. Alex, how goes it today?
Good. Very good. It's fall.
Fall's good, especially after the summer we have. Well, we've got a few topics we want to hit, Alex, and one of them, I've heard it a couple of times, it's called the Fairley Five, meaning the mayor, all the commissions, you were involved with them in helping them get the job. First of all, have you heard that? And if so, what's your reaction?
I've heard some things about that I think they're just kind of funny. Like some people have made fun of something fairly, this or that. And I chuckle and I think it's good fun.
Yeah.
Some people were way more serious and acted, expressed worry that maybe I would try to have influence or whatever. And some of them were done, frankly, with a little bit of an edge to them.
Yeah.
But I really have no problem with them. What I attribute that to is there's been a little bit too much of that. Like there was a lot of that in this last 6 years, like a lot of it, and I think it all became really, really obvious. And I think there's been some of it for a long time in our city. And so I don't think I could blame people for wondering.
Yeah.
I think I would wonder, and the truth will happen by the way I live it out, and the way those five people live it out. And so
one of the obvious questions, real quick, Alex, is simply how much contact, how much conversation would you say you have with those five in a week?
In a week, the average is probably 0. Like I don't think I've spoken to Don Tips in any way. I had a medical issue happen in the last couple months. Tom Sherlin has texted me several times. I'm checking on you.
That's cool.
I don't know that we've spoken, though. I think I've talked to Cole twice. Got seated at a dinner with him, and with a bunch of people. We weren't meeting. So literally, I would say my entire amount of time with those five people. I had dinner one night about 2 weeks ago with Les.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. That's what we want to know. But while we're on that subject, I know you're invested in that. So how they doing? I mean, even if you want to throw out a grade to them, I asked that question to a frequent observer of Mr. Skank of Amarillo. He gave them an A++.
Really?
He doesn't mind. Yes, he did.
Wow.
And he's not one to be easily pleased.
I was going to say that's a good grade for him because he gives a good grade if he thinks it, but if he doesn't think it's a grade, he says it.
He's brutally
I think
honest.
they're doing great, but to be honest with you, Lance, I haven't watched a minute of a city council meeting or been to one. I'm just not involved.
So why would you say they're doing great?
Because I hear around town,
Okay.
I hear people saying, I think they're doing great. And there was some dust up about the library. But yeah, I mostly here's what I mostly hear, that people trust them. And I haven't heard details on other things, but
yeah,
I think they're doing great. But I literally may be the worst one to ask.
Okay, all right. We'll have to get that to the people. That surprised me a little bit. They did have to deal with the flood. I would give them a passing grade on the way that went down, and they reacted the best they possibly could. So that's how I want to see my city react. That's just my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, I have no idea how they handle the flood. I know it was just tough.
It was
Lance,
tough. But
on this topic in general, listen, I made a big commitment to help these people, and really, in most cases, I just was balancing out the competition. I was just being sure Tom had a fair fight financially, and then they all did well. But listen, I'm so happy not to be involved. I don't want to say I care. I don't want to say, but I was happy to just push that boat off. I have faith in them as people of character and people of integrity, and I'm sure they'll do some things I even would disagree with. But I'm so happy not to be involved.
Okay, just for they're doing. You trust them is what you
I
bottom
trust
line.
them, and
said.
that doesn't mean they'll agree with me.
Right.
But,
yeah. One of the actions they did make before we get off that subject, Alex, is they fired city manager Jared Miller, and for the public, that's about reportedly a $730,000 buyout. That includes everything. That's some heavy money. That's some heavy money. But why do you think they did that?
I don't know. I literally haven't talked to him about it.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
I assumed they were deliberate and thought it out, but I have no idea.
All right, I'll get off that.
I would like to speak to what it cost them. I don't know
Oh,
what
okay.
it cost them.
Yeah, yeah.
But what it cost them is
Neighborhood
painful.
of 700,000.
And that's painful. But you know why we had that? Because the prior city council, on their way out the door, renewed this guy's contract, something they hadn't done in the 6 years they had been there. They didn't think it was important, but as they were leaving, they tried to protect him.
Yeah.
And they made it so expensive, hoping he wouldn't, they couldn't do that.
Yeah.
And to me, that said a lot about what they thought about him, is that they had to protect him. And I got to be honest with you, I don't know why they did it, but I'm glad they had the courage to do what they thought was right, even if it cost us a little bit.
Yeah, and I think the official statement, and I'm paraphrasing, is simply, Alex, that they were kind of both unable to agree on things in general for the city and decided to part ways. Hey, let's move on to Texas State Rep for Price. Obviously lives here in Amarillo, a wonderful man in my opinion, but he is not going to run, which,
Yeah.
surprised by that or not?
Totally surprised and honestly bummed. Like, For Price he's a world-class guy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I know For, but not that well, and so I haven't talked to him. I don't know what or why, but yeah, I was.
Do you
totally
know him well
surprised.
enough? Maybe we can do an Alex Lance conversation with him.
I bet you. We'll ask him. I don't know him well, but I
think I could ask him that. You
yeah,
know,
he might be better asking.
I don't know. So he may run after watching us in action. So I don't know. So, but as I understand it, 3 people have decided to run, and then there may be something out there as well that you know about.
Yeah, I think 3 people decided to run, or they filed. I guess you can't like really officially be running until, I don't know, November.
Right.
But I've heard from 2 of them. I've heard from several others. You know, I kind of would like to not really weigh into that, because what I would hope is we get to sit down and talk to them.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I just really want to.
That's an invite out there if you're
Yeah.
listening.
Hopefully
that
they'll-
would be fun.
Hopefully they'll do that, and here's what I'd say right now: anyone who will throw their hat in the ring and take that chance, I say kudos.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah, we expressed that the last time. Yeah, I like that. Isn't there a 4th involved as well that you know about?
Why do you think that?
Well, we had a brief conversation, you know what I mean, off the air. So
I believe there is another candidate coming, and again, I would like to not say too much about it, but because I want to get to interview these people with, you know, as much objectivity as we can. But yeah, I think there's another candidate that's, you know, I know there's another candidate that's going to announce in the next couple of weeks. It's someone who's taken like a while to think it through and decide, and so yeah, I think it'll be interesting when we have everyone in the mix.
yeah, that will be an interesting race, I think, because 4 has kind of been our staple.
Yeah,
Our
solid.
Foundation. We know we had somebody really, really effective also in communicating what the Panhandle was about as well. So I'm looking forward to that. But if we would love to have a chance to interview if you guys are listening in. Alex, I did bring up the lawsuit, if you don't mind. How does that stand now? If you can bring us up to date.
Since we talked last, we had a decision on the appeal, and that went our way. I would say Amarillo's way. So now the city can, they can follow what the judges decided, or they could appeal again. I think they would appeal to the Texas State Supreme Court. So I don't know what they'll do. It's another thing, we can't talk about. We never did before, and we can't discuss it. Their attorneys have reached out, like literally, I think last week, and asked if we could kind of negotiate a settlement. I respect that. I think it's those 5 guys trying to make it cost less for taxpayers.
Yeah.
I declined and said no, we're not, going to settle. So I don't know what'll happen, but I don't want to talk too much about it because it'll take its course.
With this lawsuit and the reason behind it, truth, really. Are you still very proud for doing that?
Yeah, I don't know if I would say proud, but I would say I hope I never have to be involved in something like that again. Like it was.
Yeah. Satisfied maybe is the word.
But I would do it again, and I think it needed to be done, and I'm happy the way it turned out. It was very, very expensive. Like the money that the judge asked them to give back to me is only, I think it's less than half what I spent. And so, and I didn't do it ever thinking about getting it back, but I think the principle had to be defended. And I hope never have to, but it just needed to be done.
Yeah, no, it definitely struck a chord with Amarillo in simply this, Alex, that of all the topics we've talked about, the one that always comes up is, I'm just glad he stood up for us. You know what I mean? So I'm not trying to patch on the back too much, but that's kind of what came out of that. You know what I mean?
I'm just glad. I'm glad it's over.
Yeah, I
It's
understand that.
almost over.
I understand that. Yeah. Hey, as far as school choice, could you take us into that if you don't mind? First of all, the common person, I say school choice, Alex, but they don't know. They don't have a clue.
Yeah.
What exactly it is, how it'll affect public school as well. Are you trying to get rid of public school completely? Things like that. I mean, we're fairly naive on this topic right now.
Yeah.
Could you bring us in a little bit on that?
Yeah. So this is a good timing. I think just in the last couple of days, the governor has called a special session to deal with school choice. I think it'll start next week. Listen, in its simplest form, and I think it's important to keep this simple because there are people who would like to make things complicated that I don't think are so complicated, but it's just this belief that parents ought to get to choose where their kids go to school. Like just that simple. And in the polling, there's been a lot of polling done. Texas parents believe in that right, and they want it. And it's that simple. It's not at all against our public schools. Our public schools are amazing, especially in the Panhandle. But there are places in our state where kids need a choice because what the choice they have is utterly unacceptable, and things going on aren't okay with parents. And so it's a little bit more of a statewide issue, but it's very simple that the people who support school choice think parents ought to get a choice. I think it's honestly fantastic for teachers. Teachers are being told by their labor unions to be afraid of it. I think it's great for teachers. No
Why?
kids are going anywhere. There's going to be just as many jobs. In fact, teachers might have more choices where they teach. They may get to go some places that could afford to pay them that can't right now. So yeah, I just think it's principally, and then in all the other states that have implemented school choice, the quality of education has gone up every time. And so that's the goal. And yeah, I'm a fan of it. And I think, I think we have to take care of our rural people.
Okay,
Like-
I was going to ask you, economically, does that challenge anybody who's maybe in the lower economic round?
I think it helps them the most. Those are the people
Why,
who
though? Why?
Because they're in places that have the least flexibility, and frankly, where schools are struggling the most.
Okay.
And they have no choice. And then I think our rural people they may be completely protected, but listen, in the past legislature, teachers got more money, schools got more money than they've ever had. Like they got a raise. So that's set, like they're getting their money. Now we need to get parents the opportunity to say, hey, I'd like to pick where my kids go to school. And when that happens, and some competition is created, again, much more needed in other parts of Texas, I think our kids and our parents win.
And you think this is going to happen quickly?
Listen, all I know is the governor has said I'm calling a special session, and we're not going to get home until we, figure it out. So what the version of it, I wouldn't even think about.
Okay.
We're not going to have broad school choice, I don't think, in 3 weeks. But I think we're going to have a version of school choice before Thanksgiving.
Okay, yeah, that enlightened me quite a bit on that topic. So, hey, there's a big time rumor out there, something substantial maybe happening with WT, and that you're involved with it. West Texas A&M.
Yeah. Listen, here's what I'd say.
You got to give us a tidbit.
Here's what I would say. Cheryl and I are huge fans of WT.
Yeah.
We went to school there. We think WT is an amazing place. It's dramatically changed for the better since we were there 40 years ago. We think
Campus is gorgeous.
The campus is amazing. The football stadium is amazing.
Yeah.
I think we have an incredible president in Dr. Windler right now. And I just think WT is so important to this area in many ways. And so, yeah, we're fans and we're committed to it, and we're working on supporting them. But I don't want to get in front of it. But we're big fans of WT, and we want to support them, and we're going to support them.
That's something I like to hear. So
maybe it'll be one thing I do. There'll be no controversy.
Does that wear on you a little bit?
No.
I didn't think so.
No. I don't like
I know you don't
people not being happy with me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't enjoy it at all.
I'm not sure anybody does.
I was in someone's office this week who was a little bit on the other side of some of these things. I went to see him to just say, hey, I want to be okay. And that's really where my heart is. But I'm never going to trade that for doing what I think is right. That's an easy decision for me.
I respect that about you. Fair or not, your name's always going to be associated with the Amarillo Civic Center. So nothing's been done, obviously. It's still sitting there. It's kind of an eyesore of Amarillo. It's functional. It's not a wow factor that I've learned from you is why you get repeat business. Why Hodgetown had those crowds out there this week for their Texas League Championship, 4,500, all coughing up $10. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's a wow factor when you go in there.
Yeah.
My question is simply this. Any idea, I know this is kind of out of your realm now, any idea what we should do down there?
I've said this before. I don't think the Civic Center is a disaster. I think we can do better. I think whatever process that ever starts about that again, whenever, and literally no one's asked me about this. I don't think about this. But the process just needs to have integrity. And we need to start out with, what do we need and why, and go from there. Not start out with, let's do this gigantic, amazing project, whether it makes sense or not, and then back into it and tell everyone why. Like we just have to have a process that has integrity. But I'm honestly enjoying that no one asked me about this except for you, because I feel like that topic
your name's going to be tagged to it.
I know. And listen, when the time comes and the people, would like my input, I'll be happy to give it. But
speaking of that time, can you look into a crystal ball real quick? Do you think our current council will have are going to present to the public a bond issue on this sometime?
I would be very surprised. Say this first term.
I'm saying this first term.
Here's what our council has figured out. Our city, infrastructure-wise, is struggling. I think our guys have figured out, we have some investments to make in our just basic infrastructure, and I think that group of people have a lot to deal with before we. But listen, I even want to be careful what I say because I'm not involved in it. I got faith in them.
All right. That's kind of the message of the day. I appreciate that.
I don't know what their orders are, but I can't imagine that Civic Center is that far close to the top.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. And at one time it was at the top. Okay. That's why I brought it up. So
are you done?
Yeah.
Because I have one thing to bring up.
Yeah. I was going to ask you.
I want to talk about that you're married now. Since we talked last,
Alex, how many people out there are interested in that one person, my wife?
I think this is so amazing.
It's like,
and I'm a fan of the family.
Yeah.
Lance, how old are you?
65.
You waited 65 years to find this amazing woman.
Yeah,
and then you got married, and I just think that's amazing.
People are shocked, quite honestly. I mean, I can see our guys here even. I don't mind bringing that up. They're like 65 first time ever. Huh? So, yeah.
You don't seem 65, but most people don't wait that long. And I think it's awesome.
Thank you. I do appreciate that.
I'm very happy.
So.
And then the next time, hopefully, as these candidates dial up for your seat, and I heard yesterday John Smithy is running, but there's some people running against him, we can go back and do that.
Yeah, no, I would love to do that. And I think that's one of the things that people want to see from us now. But, hey, we're going to hop out of here. We thank you for joining us today. Alex, always appreciate your time. I hope the questions were fair.
Great to see you again.
Okay, always. Yeah. Hey, you guys have a great day.